You're going to design a work breakdown structure inside Primavera P6. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a clear, hierarchical WBS, one that is meticulously organized, ready to receive activities, and structured to drive your project schedule. This WBS breaks your project into manageable pieces, giving you a solid foundation for planning and tracking progress every step of the way. There is a common mistake people make. They treat the WBS like it's a to-do list. It isn't. The WBS is a deliverable-oriented hierarchy. It defines the entire scope of the project. Every activity, every work package must be traceable to a node in the WBS. If something is not in the WBS, it does not belong in the project. That is the core idea, and it's essential to get it right. Look at the left column, verbs like install, write, conduct. That's activity thinking. It's a common trap. Now the right column, nouns, piping system, project report, test results. Those are deliverables. The WBS defines what the project has when the work is complete, not how you get there. Activities and tasks come later once the deliverables are clear. This shift from verbs to nouns is the core principle. If it's not a deliverable in the WBS, it's not in the project scope.
The WBS is structured in levels, like a nested hierarchy. The project itself sits at the top. Below come major phases or key deliverables, for example, design, procurement, and construction. Each one then breaks further into sub-deliverables. Down at the very bottom, you land on work packages. That's the lowest level, where cost and schedule are controlled. In P6, each of these distinct levels becomes a WBS node. Here's the critical principle, the 100% rule. Every parent node's scope must be completely accounted for by its children, nothing more, nothing less. No leaving work out, no duplicating work. If your child nodes don't add up to the parent's scope, you have a gap or an overlap. That breaks the integrity of the WBS. Without it, your cost and schedule control becomes unreliable. Stick to this rule, your structure depends on it. Before you open P6, follow 3 best practices. Keep the hierarchy shallow. 4 to 6 levels is usually enough. Every node needs a unique, descriptive name. Vague labels like Phase 1 cause confusion later. And finalize your WBS structure before you start adding activities. Reorganizing a populated WBS wastes significant time.
To access the WBS in P6 Professional, open your project, go to the Project menu, and select WBS. For P6 EPPM, click the WBS tab from within the project. Either way, you land on the WBS tree view. There you can see all your nodes, add new ones, and organize them however you need. Keep this screen open. We'll walk through the creation steps. Building a WBS in P6 is straightforward. First, click the parent node to select it, then right-click and pick Add Child or use the toolbar Add button. P6 will prompt you for a WBS code and a name. Fill both in carefully. Those fields show up in reports and activity assignments. Keep repeating this process for every branch until your full scope is broken down to the work package level. You can define WBS codes in P6 manually or have them auto-generated. A hierarchical numbering scheme like 112 makes each node's level immediately visible. For names, combine a short prefix with a descriptive deliverable label. For example, Civil Found 001 foundation structure tells you the discipline, deliverable type, and sequence at a glance. Consistent conventions make filtering and reporting much easier. Before you start adding nodes, set up the WBS code structure in P6. Navigate to Admin Categories WBS Codes. In that window, define how many levels the code has, the separator between levels, and the max characters per level. Doing this first means every node you create automatically follows the same format. If your WBS already exists in a spreadsheet or another tool, you don't need to rebuild it manually. Import it into P6 using the EXR format or a structured spreadsheet. Prepare your file with columns for the WBS code, name, and parent code. Then go to File Import to launch the import wizard. Map your columns to the right P6 fields and run the import. Always review the validation warnings before confirming.
Which import format you use depends on your data's origin. If you're migrating from another P6 project or environment, use EXR. It preserves all P6 specific data without loss. If your WBS was built in Excel or another tool, use spreadsheet import, but allow time for field mapping and validation. Both work well if source data is clean.
More mistakes keep showing up in projects. Mixing deliverables with activities blurs the line between scope and schedule. Ignoring the 100% rule leaves scope unaccounted for. Inconsistent naming makes reports unreliable and breaks filtering. Building the WBS after activities are already entered forces painful restructuring. Avoid all four by designing your WBS deliberately before touching the activity screen. The WBS and the activity list are separate but connected. WBS nodes define scope boundaries. Activities live under those nodes and carry the actual duration, resource assignments, and costs. P6 automatically rolls up all activity data to the parent WBS node. When you look at a work package, you see the total cost and the schedule status for everything beneath it. That roll-up makes earned value reporting possible. Before you add activities, do a quick sanity check on your WBS. Check that every deliverable from the scope statement has a matching node. Then make sure your codes follow the numbering convention without gaps or duplicates. And confirm node names are unique and descriptive. If all three pass, your WBS is ready for activities. You've completed the full WBS design workflow. The core principle is to focus on deliverables, not actions, and apply the 100% rule to ensure complete scope coverage at every level. In P6, you can create child nodes under a parent, assign consistent codes and names, and import a WBS from an external source when you have an existing breakdown. This lesson covered the essentials: WBS principles, building in P6, and importing. That wraps up WBS